Thank you for joining us on this Money Mondays with our financial literacy group with the Excellence and Ambition in YBC. Today, I want to introduce to some of you guys have just now meet for the first time, but I'm gonna give you 50 million reasons why you need to meet him. Mr. Raymond Quick. Since I've met him, I've made money. Since being in the presence of him, he has been influential in my life. I'm talking about from just off of sheer book knowledge and references to just sitting down and politicking and talking family. I mean, this guy has everything from charisma to leadership to just overall information. And these are the reasons why you need to partner with this guy. I mean, organization after organization that I've been through, I haven't been involved with the organization that treats everyone like family from top to bottom. With these organizations, they clothe you, they bring you in, they humble you, they experience you. They want to make sure that we, the community, are good. And I'll say it's been a blessing to be involved with Mr. Raymond Quick. I don't see him every single day, but every single day I'm around him, it's a blessing. I'm talking about the guys that has done it younger than me. I mean, his mind is way further than when I was his age. I had the same mindset, but this guy actually.
Life, you froze. Hey,
Relentless.
there you go.
Be Relentless has been as far as corporations and getting communities involved around the United States and globally, universally. We're just able to have him in Baltimore. I want you to understand how important it is that Baltimore and Be Relentless is local. They're touchable. You're talking about skills and training that's going to survive forever. That's passable. This is where you want to be at. So give them some time, give us your ears, give us your minds. Please just give us a few minutes. And without further ado, here's Mr. Quick.
All right, brother. Thank you for that great introduction. I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know I sent him $20 via Cash App to say all them good things about me. It's like, no, but no, it's honestly humbling, to hear someone speak about me like that. And like you said, we haven't known each other very long, but I mean, this guy's a leader. Elijah is definitely a leader. He's somebody I know a leader within the first few minutes of meeting him. Somebody that wants to get things done. He has a big vision, and I like to partner with people who want to make an impact, who want to change the world. And just to tell my story real quickly, I'm like the perfect person to be telling the story because I'm the person who actually, um, well, I guess a lot of people have done this, but I actually did really well with my credit in the beginning with literally no information or education. I just was that guy that, and most people do this too as well. I spent a lot more money than I was making every year, which caused me to live above my means, and then caused me to ultimately go into debt and destroy my credit. So this is an important topic for me because uh, one, there's several. As a matter of fact, let me make sure I check real quick. We are black on this car. All right, cool. So I'm big on systems. I love systems because systems actually stand for saving yourself. Excuse me, saving yourself time, energy, and money. All right, that's what the word systems is an acronym. All right, so I'm big on systems. And there's a system working against myself and everybody on this call to make sure that you have bad credit, that you have no money, that the money that you do have, it goes back into the hands of the people that you got it from. So it's very important that we understand the credit system, that we have an understanding of how we can use credit to benefit our lives and make our lives easier. And this conversation, honestly, as I was creating this PowerPoint, I tried to minimize it, but I think it's very important that you guys understand that we all understand the history of credit. And I think this will be a conversation that has to keep going because you're not going to learn everything about credit overnight. I'm still learning. Credit is a process that's continuing. You don't fix your credit. Your credit is just perfect. You're always working on your credit. You're always building your credit. You're always trying to keep your credit clean And again, this is a very, very important topic. One, because economically, as Black men and women, we need to empower ourselves, and it's only going to start with us having the right information, and then the tools and resources, and the systems, having the systems in place to allow us to create wealth. And you can have you can make great money, but without credit, you're limited into what you can do. And just to let you guys know, the really extremely wealthy people in the world, they use other people's money to build their wealth. While we're taught to go hard, to work hard for our money, exchange our time for money. These people actually use other people's money to and leverage their money across many different investments, and some of them may or not ever have to work a hard day in their life, because obviously money is supposed to be our slave, instead of us slaving for money. So I'm nobody special. I actually was born in Baltimore, raised by a single mother. We never had much. I mean, I remember looking in the fridge. I remember came up in a home where we got yelled at for saying we were hungry, right? We window shopped all the time. We never had enough. We never had much. But was grateful for those things. But I grew up as the oldest male in my family. My mother was a single mother, 4 kids. So I always had that pressure of being the man of the house in my family. Even as a youngster, I always felt like I was going to be the one that was financially responsible for my loved ones. Um, at the age of 18, I had my daughter, and she just turned 11 a few months ago. So um, I had to quickly become a man, quickly grow up, and quickly learn this money game. So at the age of 18, I'll never forget this reason I'm telling the story, because I joined the military when she shortly after she was born. And I remember not having any credit. I hadn't established any credit, and not having any credit is not good either. But I remember going to a car dealership to go get a car. I had got a secure job. I was in the military, and I'm like, I should be able to get a loan for a decent car. And at the time, I wanted actually a car a car I own today. It's not the exact same car, but back then I really wanted this. It was an Acura TL. This was in 2010. I wanted this car so bad, and you guys remember, Acura. If you're from Baltimore, that's like a jewel, right? But I remember going to the dealership, and the guy looked at me in my face and said, no one will approve you for this car. You have no credit. And I remember just being very, very discouraged. So I was like, why don't I have any credit? Why haven't I learned about credit? Why don't I know anything about credit? And why is this man telling me that I can't get a car? Long story short, I ended up working it out. I ended up getting the car, just not from them. But I remember that day because it was very vivid to me, because I realized that it wasn't until I was 19 years old, already had a daughter, already having real life bills, that I was trying to learn about credit, and that's a little too late to learn. So if you got kids on this call, I would suggest that you start helping them establish their credit. You can actually start establishing your children's credit at the age of 13 years old. So that's a great age. That's a great place to start, so that when they're 18 years old, they can go into banks, they can go into places, and they can get other people's money and invest in themselves. Take money to invest in themselves, whether it's their education or their projects or their dreams. So let's jump right into this presentation. I created this. It is a little long. It's a little lengthy. Take notes, because it's great information, and it will definitely benefit you in the long term. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen. Am I actually the host? Can I share my screen?
You should be able to share your screen.
All right. Sure. I can't. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. So I actually I created this PowerPoint. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go to slideshow. All right, and I like this little background because obviously they should teach us this in school, but they don't. And if you were like me, you graduated from high school and you're like, what now? Like, what now? Life got really real. Needed job, needed money, needed credit. And if you didn't have any, this education. I mean, I think all of us would have took credit 101 or financial 101 or wealth 101 in college if it was available. I mean, high school if it was available. I just know personally it wasn't for me. All right, so why credit scoring helps you? All right, it's because credit score A credit score gives lenders a fast, objective measurement of your credit risk. All right, before the use of scoring, the credit granting process was very slow, inconsistent, and unfairly biased. So the credit scores, especially the FICO scores, have made big improvements in the credit process. But why? Well, what happens is scores can be delivered almost instantaneously. All right, this helps lenders speed up loan approvals. And today, many credit decisions can be made within just a few minutes. All right, even a mortgage application can be approved in hours instead of weeks for borrowers who score above a lender's score cutoff. Scoring also allows retail stores, internet sites, and other lenders to make instant credit decisions. So before the internet, there was credit, but just think about how fast. Today you can apply for a car loan online. You can apply for you can apply for just about any other loan and get a response in minutes, whether you're approved or denied. And in a lot of cases, you can, like I said, you can be pre-approved or approved within a few minutes. So the credit score wasn't always here. We're gonna you gonna guys can get a little information on how it came about. All right, using credit scoring, lenders can focus only on the facts related to the credit risk, rather than their personal feelings. So I mean, you could imagine back in the days, obviously, when there was prejudice and discrimination, how difficult it probably was for people of our color to even get loans from the bank. But factors like your gender, your race, your religion, nationality, and marital status are not considered at all in your credit scoring. All right, credit mistakes count for less. So if you've had a poor credit performance in the past, credit scoring doesn't let that haunt you forever. Past credit problems fade as time passes, and as recent good payments patterns show up on your credit report. Credit scoring weighs all of the credit related information, both good and bad, in your credit report. Also, more credit is available. Lenders who use credit scoring can approve more loans because credit scoring gives them more precise information on which to base credit decisions. It allows lenders to identify individuals who are likely to perform well in the future, even through their credit report, even though their credit report shows past problems. So even people whose scores are lower than the lender's cutoff for automatic approval benefit from scoring. Many lenders offer a choice of credit products geared to different risk levels. So basically, what that's saying is, if you let's say you're applying for a loan, a credit card, let's say with Capital One, you want a credit card, but your credit is not good enough to get approved for like their baseline credit card. They usually have some lower tier products like secured cards that you can get to start developing and building and repairing your credit. All right. Our credit rates are lower overall. So with more credit available, the cost of credit for borrowers decreases, which is good for us, which means fewer bad loans to write off, making the credit granting process less costly for lenders. In return, they're able to pass their savings on to customers, which is us, which means that we get lower interest rates. All right, without the credit scoring tool or the credit scoring formula, interest rates would be significantly higher, and we should all be clapping for that because we want lower interest rates. You want to borrow money cheaply. You don't want to borrow expensive money. All right. So in 1956, two friends, Bill Fair and Earl Isaac, established the Fair Isaac Corporation. All right, they did this to develop and market their credit scoring concept. All right, and then initially they started this in a small apartment in California. All right, and it's grown into a company that's traded in the financial markets. All right, in excess of over $600 million in revenue that company has grown to, and their credit scoring model is known as the FICO. FICO came from a Fair Isaac Corporation. All right, so if you didn't know that, that's a fun fact. All right, that number changed the world. All right, in the early years, Fair Isaac marketed their scoring system to financial service companies seeking to make faster and more accurate credit decisions. In 1989, as businesses were discovering the power of computerization, Fair Isaac introduced an automated credit scoring software package that was quickly embraced by credit card issuers. So I want you guys to just think about that, especially if you got an idea or you have something that's in your heart that you feel like could make a business or a company or any industry better. These guys were in their apartment, and they came up with an idea to simplify the the credit process or the process of giving out loans for these companies. And they took this idea and marketed it to different companies. And in 1995, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac actually incorporated FICO scores into the approval history, and now the rest is history. All right, the FICO score is the main score that is looked at. This is what every lender is going to look at before they actually decide to give you a loan. So there's also other credit scores, and most are hopeful of making market inroads. Some like the Vantage score are contenders. For now, the clear leader in that one matters to your credit repair effort is the FICO score. It is a practical reality. Lenders, with few exceptions, use FICO. All right, so most, again, like I said, most people use FICO. All right, so a couple things: your personal information. All right, this includes your telephone number, your social security number, current and former addresses, and current and former employers. If you're married and and share finances, your spouse's name may also be included in the credit information. All right, your credit history. All right, this information makes up the bulk of the personal credit report and includes your current and former accounts with credit card companies, banks, retailers, mortgage lenders, and any other past and present credit information. It describes in detail when your accounts were open, the credit limit or size of the loans, the current balances, the types of credit issued, monthly payments, and any late payments or accounts that were delinquent. Public records. This credit report information includes any bankruptcies, court judgments, or liens against your name for unpaid taxes or other unpaid loans that went to collections. Credit report inquiries. When an agency of any kind requests your credit report information, this inquiry is noted and becomes part of your credit report. Notes will be made anytime you apply for any type of loan or credit card. So, an inquiry, whether it can be soft or hard, is when you actually apply for some type of credit, right? Whether it be a credit line or a loan. All right, it's gonna appear on your credit report whether you're approved or denied. All right, companies want to make sure that you're not desperate for credit. In most cases, if they see that you're applying for too much credit, they're going to be less likely to actually give you the money that you're looking for. All right, disputed accounts. Any disputes you may have filed, anytime you dispute any type of claim, it's noted on your credit report. If you see inaccuracies and wish to dispute them to preserve your credit rating, your attempts are noted as part of your credit report information. So even your disputes will be added to your report. So here's a list of things that is not included in your credit file: your checking accounts, saving accounts, debit cards, prepaid cards, non-delinquent medical bills, non-delinquent utility payments. In certain states, there are even delinquent utility bills won't be included. Rewards earnings, private loans. All right, and then the federal law prohibits discrimination based on faith, sex, political viewpoints, or affiliation with specific groups or causes. As such, your credit reports will not include a mention of your gender, your ethnicity, your religion, your political affiliation. In conclusion, what's not included in your credit report information is your race, criminal record, driving record, religious affiliation, health records, and current level of income. And this is intentional because the outcome of every credit application is supposed to be based solely on how responsibly you've managed your credit and nothing else. All right. So um, the reason why someone wouldn't give you credit is solely supposed to be solely based on how you've personally managed your credit and nothing else. All right. So this is why your credit report is important. This is why this is the number one thing that they look at: your score, your report, because you need to know what's going on in your credit. Because if you want to get a loan, you want to make sure that there's nothing on there that will make them say, "Hey, I don't think this is too much of a risk for us to loan this money out." So let me tell you about how some mistakes get in your credit file. So mixed credit reports are caused when the credit bureau, let me make this clear. Some of the mistakes can be by you, but the reason why it's very important that you look at your credit report is because the mistakes can actually come from the credit companies. And I can tell you guys from my own experience, I've actually had things taken off my credit because someone had the exact name as me, literally, and I talk about this here. The exact name is me, but we weren't the same person in a simple mistake in it's data. So anything can happen, all right? But mixed credit reports are caused when the credit bureaus place information belonging to another consumer on your credit report. If you got a common name, there's a chance that your credit report could be crossed with another consumer. Since the credit scoring software is not able to distinguish between your credit data and credit data belonging to another person, it will score the information even if it's incorrect. Consequently, if the other consumer with the same name has poor credit, this information will now appear on your credit file, resulting in possible denial of credit. So the reason why mixed files are so hard to correct is because the lender typically is not sending in incorrect information. The problem is being caused by the credit bureau. All right, and a lot of times this is why it's so important that you personally take responsibility for your credit, for your what's happening on your report. The lender cannot fix any of the problems because they're not the ones who are actually causing it. The credit report agencies are under no obligation to proactively investigate the information on your credit report. So it's up to you to pull your own credit reports, to review the information, file disputes, and if you find data that you feel like is incorrect, it's up to you to make sure that that stuff gets off your credit. No one else is going to care more about your credit than you. All right. So according to myfico.com, additional reasons for incorrect data in credit files includes a person applied for credit under different versions of their name. So for me, example, my name is Raymond Quick. Let's say I filed for credit under using the name Ray Quick. All right, or Robert Jones. Sometimes Roberts go by Bob. All right, someone made a clerical error in reading or entering the name or address information from a handwritten application. All right, probably not as common today, but I could see that being a major problem back in the day. All right, the person gave an inaccurate social security number. It could happen, or the number was misread by the lender. Seniors and juniors, all right, living within the same household that get account information crossed. Loan or credit card payments were inadvertently applied to the wrong account. All right. Items to look for when reviewing your credit score. All right. All right. One, an account that doesn't belong to you, a duplicate account, an account you never authorized. All right. The balance on the account incorrect. There's no past due balance on the account, but it's showing that it does have one. The account is closed with a $0 balance and has a positive payment history. Or you're not reporting the credit limit. They're not reporting the credit limit on your account. This account was included in bankruptcy and should have a zero balance. So for anyone who's maybe filed bankruptcy and it's not reflecting on your credit report, or maybe the report is reading that you were 30, 60, 90, or 120 days late on the account, and you have proof that you actually weren't, and that you have the payment and confirmation that you paid it on a specific date. Or the account was paid and they said that you didn't. Or the account was closed and they noted that it was closed by the creditor versus you. Or the open date on the account is incorrect. Incorrect information on your credit report is the easiest way to get it taken off. The account being still open and is reading that it's closed on your account. All right. Or it could be an account that you are just an authorized user on, and that you're not actually the owner of that account. Or they could be reporting that your home equity excuse me, or they could be reporting your home equity line of credit as a revolving account. Or you could have never authorized an inquiry on your account, and that can happen too. There's a lot of fraud that's going on, especially in the United States. A lot of fraud, a lot of people trying to open things in other people's names, getting access to your social security cards and all that stuff. So that's another major reason why you should take full responsibility for the things that's going on in your credit. And there's several different things. What I wanted to talk about on this one is the 7-year reporting period um, expired on your account. So let's say you're on this call and you're watching this and you've got something on your account that's been there for 6 years and 8 months. I would honestly tell you, don't even go through the hassle of trying to pay that stuff off, because in 7 years, legally, spiritually, by biblically, so many reasons, after 7 years, your sins can and will be forgiven on certain on mostly every type of debt that you may have. So if you can hold it out on that 7 years, you can have a lot of things taken off of your credit. I'm not sitting here telling you to go don't make payments and don't pay your bills and then just wait to 7 years. But just, I'm talking about theoretically, if 7 years ago you got a car repossessed and it's on your credit, and you're coming up on that 7-year mark, it's probably best that you just let that slide. Don't waste your money trying to pay it off. You can actually have that taken care of a 7-year reporting period. So these are just a bunch of different examples, but I want to talk to you guys about a rapid rescore. All right. And in order to take advantage of it, you have to be able to provide your mortgage originator with clear documentation from the creditor of the new information that you would like reported. All right, rapid rescore is ideal for prospective borrowers who are able to reduce their revolving balances, but who would rather not wait for the new balance to be reported in the normal course of business. Clear documentation in this case would entail a letter from the credit card company, including your name, account number, and new balance. Rapid rescore is also good for forcing the correction of any derogatory information such as collections and public records. There's also the Vantage score. All right, in the 1970s, credit scores have played an increasingly vital role in the lending industry. Talked about Fair Isaac and the company began assigning credit scores to consumers based upon various factors over 40 years ago. And these scores are now reviewed not only by prospective lenders, but also by landlords, insurers, and government agencies. The computation process for the FICO score has some limitations. For example, a consumer must have a credit line open for at least 6 months before it will show up on the FICO credit report. This and other deficiencies have led three major bureaus to establish a new score model known as the Vantage score, which evaluates customers according to a somewhat different set of criteria that can be much more forgiving in some instances. So basically, what this saying is there's a collaborative effort. You guys know that there's a couple different credit bureaus, and they all sometimes your credit score can show differently because it's all based on a different scoring system. But the three major credit bureaus have used the FICO scoring model for decades, but the differences in how each agency computes the scores has led to numerous discrepancies that are often problematic for both lenders and consumers. But this actually ends up working in our favors at times, especially if you are paying close attention to what's going on with your credit report. And I personally think that you should look, I mean, most people say you should look at your credit at least once a year. I say if you're building or repairing your credit, you should look at it every 60 days, 45 to 60 days. Um, but the first version of Vantage appeared in 2006, all right, and it was modified in 2010, obviously because of the mortgage meltdown in 2008. So the Vantage score credit scores are computed in a fundamentally different manner than the FICO scores. All right, they start with a somewhat different set of criteria and assign a different weighting to each segment. A comparison of the two is going to be shown here. So the FICO score is based on this criteria. So 35% is your payment history. All right. So making sure you're making your payments on time, extremely important. 35% of that is going to make up your score. The next highest percentage is the total amounts owed by the consumer. So your debt, how much debt you have. All right. This is how much money that you already owe different lenders. All right. This is a major. This you don't want to have a lot of bad debt. All right. Good debt is okay. Bad. We're gonna talk about that today. But bad debt, you don't want to have a lot of bad debt. What is bad debt? Well, car loans, a mortgage can be bad debt. Anything that doesn't make you money, any loan that you take out that doesn't make you money is technically bad debt. All right, so you don't want to have too much of that. All right, length of consumers' credit history. All right, so the length of the credit history. How long has your credit history been positive? How long have you been making your payments on time? It's really, really important to creditors. They want to know that they're going to get their money back. All right. And then the type of credit used by the consumer makes up 10%, and the other 10% is new credit. All right, new credit. So then the Vantage score is again it's weighted a little differently. All right, 30% is going to be your recent credit, 28% is your payment history, 23% is utilization of credit, 9% is account balances. Depth of consumers credit is 9%. And then again, amount of consumers available credit is 1%. So the Vantage score model is also quantified differently than the FICO scores. It uses a numerical range for its scores, but it also assigns a corresponding letter grade for a given range. In some instances, that helps consumers to understand the quality of their score. So it does use a little bit like a grading scale. Um, So a 901 to a 990 is an A. All right. It means one charge off for every 300 consumers who pay on time. 801 to 900 is a B, which is one charge off for every 50 consumers who pay on time. 701 to 800 is C, one charge off for every 10 consumers who may pay on time, and so on and so forth. So with FICO, the consumer's credit worthiness matches his or her score and grade. Each of the three major credit bureaus computes a score based on the Vantage score model using its own data. So while all three bureaus use the exact same model to compute the Vantage score, Vantage Score credit score, it can still differ from one bureau to another because each bureau typically records slightly different information in their consumer files. Hence the reason why you can have 3 different scores from each bureau. All right. So one of the chief advantages that the Vantage model brings is the ability to provide a score to a large segment of consumers. About 30 to 35 million who are currently unscorable when traditional methodologies are applied. The Vantage Score model differs from FICO in that a line of credit only has to be open for a single month in order to be factored in. Yet this model takes 24 months or 2 years of consumer credit activity into account, where FICO only looks back for 6 months. So the longer look back period can be a big help for consumers who are looking to rebuild their credit and are able to show a marked improvement over a longer time span. Remember that credit history we talked about with the FICO score. All right, they want to see a big part, a portion of your score is based on your payment history, right? So that's why that's important. Then you have Vantage Score 3.0, which is the most recent version of it, and it represents a substantial improvement over the previous 2 models. It was created in the beginning of created beginning with over 900 data points from 45 million consumers, and it only uses about half the number of reason codes. So the Vantage Score, me personally, I think it's a little misleading, but the risk assessment formula that is used in the model is now identical for each of the major bureaus. Um, you can see that the Vantage Score model also claims that the predictive score in the version will be 25% more accurate than the previous one due to the substantial increase. This Vantage Score that I talked about before, um, it was a lot of people were seeing a lot of deficiencies in that score due to lack of accuracy in the information. This one is 3.0 is a lot more accurate. You can actually be pretty confident in the score that you see here. And these reasons, if you go to www.reasoncode.org, you can look up the reason code so you can see why your score is what. It'll all make sense when you go on that website, www.reasoncode.org. All right, so impact with lenders. So despite the hype with which the 3 credit bureaus have promoted their new scoring system, it has been slow to catch on in the lending industry. The Vantage Score model remains a very distant second to the FICO. As of April 2012, less than 6% of the credit scoring market, and only 10% of the major banks use the Vantage Score model in the underwriting. So obviously, not one that you want to focus too heavily on. The FICO is the major score, the most important score, the one that you want to be making sure that is accurate the most. But here's the bottom line: although its methods of computation is considered to be more fair and realistic than the FICO, it will likely take some time for lenders to become comfortable with shifting to this alternative methodology. Nevertheless, the number of institutions that accept the Vantage Score model is growing. Again, this one is still new, and it's been modified 2 times since its creation. Its popularity will likely continue to increase with its ability to tap a new market, and you can see it with, especially with technology applications. There's all types of companies coming out that are approving you for lines of credit just based off of your bank statements, the amount of money you make. I have not really even taken a hit onto your credit. And a lot of them are secure credit, but some of them are actually giving you lines of credit using this model. And if I'm not mistaken, there's an app called Grain that actually uses the Vantage Score model to approve you for credit. And you can download that app today and probably get approved for a line of credit. Don't take it and buy sneakers or jewelry, or maybe jewelry, because jewelry actually does increase the value, but maybe not sneakers, maybe not food. Don't go on a date. But if you can find a way to use it to make you some money, maybe not a bad idea. All right, so now I want to talk about some credit myths. All right, here are a couple of them. Making a lot of money will help your credit report and your credit scores. All right, the fact of the matter is that your salary has nothing to do with your credit report or your scores. Your salary is important to lenders, but not important to a credit worthiness way. It's important for them to know that you have the ability to make the payments for the next 5, 10, or 30 years or whatever the loan is, but one is as important as the other, but you won't be approved for the best interest rates if your credit is poor, regardless of how much money you make. So that's why credit is important. You can have a lot of cash, but if your credit is bad, you're gonna get um, if you make a lot of money, but your credit is bad, your interest rates are gonna suck. All right, you're gonna pay more for the money that you borrow. All right, a great credit score is a result of a credit report without any late payments. Paying all your bills on time is a great start, and you will not have excellent credit reports and scores without a clean payment history. But it's not the only thing. A full 2 out of 3 of your credit score is derived. A full 2/3 of your credit score is derived from things other than how well you pay your bills. So keeping your credit usage ratio less than 30%, which means if you got a credit line for $100, all right, don't spend more than $30. All right, if you need to get some gas, fill up your tank with gas. All right, make sure you pay that $30 off immediately. All right, don't use a lot of your credit. Once you go beyond that 30%, you start looking desperate to the creditors. All right, and it take your credit takes hits. All right, so 30%. All right, even if you go to a bank and they offer you a loan of $10,000, right? Don't take it all. You look needy to the bank. Just take 3 grand, all right, unless you got an absolute way to take that $10,000 and double it or whatever. But most likely you don't want to take it all. Don't take all that the bank has to offer you. Just take 30% of it, all right? Um, it's just a way to make sure that you're not looking needy to the banks, all right, or desperate. All right, more myths. All right, all 3 of your credit reports and credit scores will be the same. The opposite is what is correct. It's certainly that all 3 of your credit reports will be different. All right, and therefore, so will all 3 of your credit scores. There are 3 primary reasons why this is true. Now, all of your accounts will be reported to all 3 credit reporting agencies. And since reporting is voluntary act, not all lenders report to all 3. So you will most certainly have a different number of inquiries on your 3 credit reports, like I said before. Since most lenders just pull one of your 3 credit reports, you have a different number of inquiries on your reports. Lenders don't always update their accounts on your credit reports at the same time. Because of this, your reports will most likely always be different, and that's okay. All right. Lastly, if you have poor credit, then your credit scores will suffer for 7 years. We talked about that. But this is not true either. Credit scores are dynamic, meaning they are constantly changing. This means that the scores are calculated based on your credit information at that time. If the information on your credit files changes tomorrow, then so will your scores. All right. If you have a 650 today and you get a loan tomorrow, your credit is gonna drop. It's gonna change. And that's just the way it works. All right. Another one, debit cards can help your credit reports and scores. This isn't true. Debit cards are nothing more than plastic access to your checking account. The confusion comes in part because of the Visa or MasterCard logos that are on the debit card. They look exactly like credit cards, so the assumption is that they count. If you become overdrawn on your checking account because you don't track the use of your check card, then it could result in bounced checks. Common myths continue. Paying off or settling late payments, tax liens, collections, or judgments will remove them from your credit reports. It's not that easy. While it's the responsible and right thing to do, don't expect any miracles to occur just because you pay off some or all of your negative credit related debts. After late payments or other derogatory items have been paid and settled, they will be updated on your credit reports to show paid collection or release tax lien or the satisfied judgment, which is much better than the alternative, but they may still be there negatively impacting your credit scores. Canceling credit cards boosts my score. Most experts agree that most creditors want to see at least 2 or 3 pieces of active credit to prove you can manage debt responsibly. All right, and that's a key sentence right there. All right, they want to see that you're managing the debt that you have responsibly. So making sure that at all times your credit report is showing credit that is available that is greater than 70% of the available limit. All right, this is where you want to be. Again, that's why I talked about that 30% rule. All right, if you have 3 lines of credit, they want to make sure that you haven't used more than 30%. You don't want to use more than 30% of all 3 of those different accounts. Why? Because it's going to negatively affect your score. Well, more myths. All right, credit scores are locked in for 6 months. FICO models are dynamic, meaning that your credit score changes as soon as data on your credit report change. When a score is calculated, for all intents and purposes, it then goes away and is recalculated the next time someone pulls your file. So another myth, I don't need to check my credit report if I pay my bills on time. That's a big one. According to the Consumer Federation of America and National Credit Reporting Association, they have found that 78% of those analyzed had credit files that were missing a revolving account in good standing, while 33% of those files lacked a mortgage account that had never been late. 29% contained conflicting information on how many times the consumer had been 60 days late on payments. It's been calculated that 80% of all credit reports have erroneous information ranging from a wrong birth date to accounts you never even applied for. All right, so you must take responsibility for your credit. Look at your credit reports as often as you possibly can. So how much is my credit score impacted by a new negative account? So recently, FICO scoring system have offered some insight onto this previously guarded information. The answer can be found by focusing on three different consumers. So a negative, I don't know, must have made an error here somewhere in my slide, my presentation, because some information cut off. But a negative, especially a late payment, all right, it will drop your score considerably. All right, and the sucks about this is that when you pay on time, it doesn't boost your score as much. But you miss a pay. I'm talking about you miss one payment, you will see a hit on your credit score, sometimes 30, 40, 60, 50 points immediately just for being late. So it's very important that you have notifications for all your payments. Auto pay is very big. Make sure that you try to pay that bill 2-3 days in advance, or exactly on the date. All right, because your credit will take a hit. All right, the impact on the FICO score drops in points is greater when the starting score is high. So, for example, a foreclosure would drop a starting score of 680 anywhere from 85 to 105 points, compared to 140 or 160 points if the starting score was a 780. So this makes a sense because the 680 score already reflects some degree of risky behavior. There's little difference in score impact between a short sale, deed in lieu, and settlement, or a foreclosure. A bankruptcy has the most substantial impact on the FICO score, with the potential to drop a 780 by 240 points. All right, so a bankruptcy would absolutely do a lot of damage to your credit score. I personally have never filed for a bankruptcy. It was a time when I thought that I was going to, or thought I needed to, and thank God I didn't. But I know people that have gone from filing bankruptcies and having their credit just destroyed to being able to repair. So if you've ever filed a bankruptcy, don't be discouraged. Or if you're in a bankruptcy right now, don't be discouraged. Anything is repairable. All right. The study also provides the insight into how long it takes the score to fully recover from these negative postings. Credit scores are forgiving as negative information ages. It has less impact on the score as long as current credit behaviors are positive. So for recovery to starting the FICO score, uh, is faster when the starting score is lower and the negative item posted was less severe. So for example, it takes a short 9 months to get back to 680 when the negative item posted on the mortgage was a 30-day late. This is compared to the 7 to 10 years to get back to a score of 780 if a bankruptcy was posted. All right, for a score to fully recover from a short sale deed or a foreclosure, it takes 3 years for a 680 starting score, 7 years for a 720, and starting score and 7 years for a 780. So you can see that these really big hits like foreclosures and bankruptcies, they can take a few years to repair and rebuild, but it's well worth it. And if you ever find yourself in a position where you need to file bankruptcy, just plan to live on cash. You might not be using credit for a very long time for anything whatsoever. You might be lucky to be able to get loans from some people. I do know there are some people that will actually, some companies that will actually give you money if you end with a bankruptcy on your credit. But if you can't avoid it at any cost, because it will make a major hit to your credit. All right. It's important to keep in mind that negative impact on the credit score can be offset by credit building techniques such as keeping all future payments on time, responsible and consistent use of a variety of credit, and keeping your balances low. So regardless of where you are in the credit process, what you can do right now, my favorite thing to say to people when they just lost, and even myself, is to do the next best thing. The next best thing you can do right now, and that is pay your bills on time. Pay all your bills on time. All right, and then keep that balance low, like we said, under the 30%. Don't go above 30% usage. All right, the study is welcome information because for the first time, FICO provides us with an inside look at the direct impacts and point losses on the score. All right, this information can help consumers get a better sense of how various negative indicators on a mortgage loan could impact their FICO score. So the 6 worst items that could appear on your credit report. All right. All right. It's easy to make a mistake or experience hardship when it comes to paying your bills. We've all been there, every single one of us on this call. All right. But some mistakes are so detrimental, you want to avoid them at all costs. All right. Since future creditors and lenders use your credit report to make decisions about you, it's important to understand how each of these impact your credit file. So you have charge-offs, collections, bankruptcies, foreclosures, tax liens, and then lawsuits or judgments. All right, charge-offs. Missing your payments for 6 months or more could cause your creditors to deem your account as uncollectible. When this happens, the creditors write that debt off as a loss against their income taxes. Charge-off accounts can be reported on your credit report for 7 years. And just because a debt is charged off or written off does not mean the debt is forgiven. The money is still owed. The creditor will usually sell or assign the debt to a collection agency or a lawyer for collection. So you probably, if you've ever been there, and what happens is they sell your debt, and then another company is calling you trying to get the money. All right, they bought your debt at a discount, and now they're trying to call you to collect the payment owed, and that's how they make their money. All right, some companies will continue to charge interest on charge-offs, but most don't. And if they do decide to keep charging interest, they must continue to report it as an income. Most companies would rather just write it off, and be done with it. So having charge-offs on your credit report usually results in the consumer being denied credit by other lenders. You don't want to have charge-offs on your credit report. Even worse, it can also affect the interest rate that other lenders charge on current debts, even if these lenders were not impacted by the charge-offs themselves. So if you find yourself late on your payments, you should always try to contact the lender and let them know you're having problems meeting your financial obligations. This is very, very important. All right, build a relationship with your banks, with the lenders, anybody that you have money with, loan money from, because they will be willing to help you, especially if you're in a time of need or an emergency. You'd be surprised, they can push payments back. They will work with you. All right, they want their money, and they want to keep you as a customer, and they believe in one of the business. Some companies, some lenders believe that taking care of their customers, and caring about the customer, will help them build longevity in business. So if you be responsible, pick up the phone before they're calling you about late payments, and actually call them saying, "Hey, I'm going through a tough time," or "Hey, COVID just hit, and or I just lost my job," or whatever the case may be. You'll be surprised how much they'll work with you. All right, so it's much easier to get a paid charge off removed from your credit report than it is an unpaid charge off. So when you dispute the charge off with the credit bureaus, they have 30 days to verify the account with the creditor. If the account is paid, many times the creditor will just ignore the verification request. Then you also have collections. Not only will creditors charge off your account after a period of non-payments, they may also hire a third-party debt collector to payment from you. Your credit report may or may not be updated to reflect a collection status. Then you have bankruptcy. Filing bankruptcy allows you to legally remove liability for some or all of your debts, depending on the type of bankruptcy you file. Your credit report will reflect each of the accounts you included in your bankruptcy. Even though the bankruptcy information can legally remain on your credit report for 7 to 10 years, you can begin rebuilding your credit soon after your debt has been discharged. So you can file for bankruptcy and again start building your credit the very same day. So you also have foreclosures. If you default on the mortgage loan, your lender will repossess your home and auction it off to recover the amount of the mortgage. This process is known as a foreclosure. And when your home is foreclosed, it can severely damage your credit. I personally have never been through this, but limiting your ability to obtain a new credit in the future. A foreclosure can remain on your credit report for 7 years. So I have heard horror stories of people who have gone through this. Probably one of the saddest things that can happen to a family. But at all costs, avoid doing this. If you can, going through this again, work with your creditors, work with your lenders, work with your banks, and make those payments on time. Tax liens: when you don't pay property taxes on your home or any other piece of property, the government can seize the property and auction it off for the unpaid taxes. Unpaid tax liens can remain on your credit for 15 years. All right, while paid tax liens can remain for 10. So again, you want to avoid these as well. Pay your taxes. This is important. All right, lawsuits or judgments. So some creditors may take you to court and sue you for a debt in the event that other collections efforts fail. So if a judgment is entered against you, it can remain on your credit report for 7 years. So these negative things, they stick, right? When you make your payments, so it's just the way the world works. All right, the good stuff you do doesn't really last in the air that long, but when something bad, you make a missed payment, you have a foreclosure, bankruptcy, this stuff sticks around for a very long time. So you want to try to avoid these at all costs. Or how to maintain good credit. So if you are new to using credit or are establishing a damaged credit, utilize these tips I'm about to give you. Take notes here. All right, so setting up automatic payments for your bills is an easy, secure, and convenient way to simplify your finances. Automatic payments will make sure your bills are paid on time and will prevent you from incurring any future late fees. I'm a big fan of auto payments. A lot of people don't like them because they like to manually do it. because maybe you're a control freak or you just don't like money coming out your account without your use. But I'm telling you right now, if you don't want your credit to drop, have that auto payment set up. All right. And make sure you have the money in the account. Or if you don't, set up a reminder with Siri or any type of artificial intelligence you have on your phone for your Android users saying, hey, remind me to make this payment 3 days before the 17th of every month, whatever the case may be. All right. You can do that with your phone. All right. Use your credit score. Use your credit wisely. Do not open. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one. Charge small amounts regularly on each card, but not more than you can pay off each month. Again, remember, keep that 30% usage rule in mind. But those little $5, $10, $15 swipes, they're good. All right. They want to see activity with your credit. All right. Use your credit wisely. Do not open unnecessary credit accounts. The extra 10% off you save at Burlington or let me think of a stupid credit card I had back in the day. Nordstrom's or what's it, Banana Republic. All right, you can avoid those. All right, you don't need credit for clothing. All right, it's not good. Credit is not good. It's not used for things that it's not good. It's not should be used for things that lose value. All right, when you buy that piece of clothing, it loses value the moment you walk out of the store. Right, the moment you put it on. All right, one. The next one is be cautious with your credit card solicitation. Just because you receive one of these offers does not mean that you can afford the additional credit. Every letter that comes in the mail that says, hey, you've been pre-approved, does not mean you got to call them and accept the credit. Remember, you don't got to be needy. You only need to have 2 to 3 open lines of credit at a time. That's what banks look at. They want to make sure you're not overusing credit and that you're not desperate for the credit. All right. And it's just like relationships, right? Money is just really it's a lot like relationships. So I like actually money is a lot like women. It is like the better you treat her, the more you take care of her and pay attention to her, you talk nice about her and you pay attention to her, the better she's gonna treat you. So make sure that you do the same with your credit. All right. Do not close credit accounts unless it's absolutely necessary. All right, you want to keep that history on there. All right, when you delete a trade line, you also delete the credit history. You don't want that. You want to have a lot of credit history on your reports. Do not. It's always better to pay off credit cards before an auto or mortgage loan to get the biggest score increases. All right, so pay them credit cards off as often as you possibly can. All right, and continue using them. All right, review your credit file at least twice a year. All right, correct any errors and omissions. So at least twice a year, every 6 months. It's nothing. It doesn't take anything to go to Credit Karma. It's a free website that you can look at your credit score. Do that every 6 months. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. I know that was a plethora of information. Like I said before, guys, credit is a big deal. I know that we were gonna do. I was supposed to talk about taxes, but I want to go ahead and drop this disclaimer. I'm not a tax expert. I actually pay someone to do all my taxes for me because I'm in the online business and I have home-based businesses. But I do want to just kind of tell you guys this. I don't care if you're 18 years old, 17, whatever age you are, get a home-based business or any type of business because the write-offs that you get are important. Now, I want to just have this conversation real quick. So everyone gets excited around tax time, right? Oh my God, I'm getting this type of money because I got a kid and I got 5 kids and all that stuff, and you're getting all this money, and that's it can be good, especially if you got a plan for it. And trust me, I've been that person that was like, hey, let me get my 3,500 per kid or whatever the case they got, however it goes, and find a plan to do with it, right? But you don't want to be on that side. You don't want to be the person that's excited about tax time come February. All right, you want to be the person that's making money. You want to all year round, and the difference between employees and employers is that employees they actually are taxed at a ridiculous high rate. So just to give you guys an idea, right? Warren Buffett is a billionaire. He made tens of billions of dollars just in 2020, but he paid less in taxes than his assistant because he gets different tax benefits. He's in a completely different tax bracket, but he has different tax benefits. So being a business owner, owning your home business, you get to write off your expenses. You get to write off some portion of your meals. If you have a home office in your home that you dedicate to doing your work at, you can write that off, that space, the square footage of that space, you can write it off at the end. So the difference between an employee and a business owner is a business owner, they make a profit, and that profit is taxed at the end of the year. An employee is getting taxed every single time they get a paycheck, which is like 35-40% of your income that Uncle Sam is taking from you. Where a business owner, we get to take all our profit, right? And then we just pay a percentage of the profit that's from all the money we make, we get taxed on just the profit. Versus, so you have expenses, you have income, you have expenses. Your tax expert is going to take all the expenses that you have. So when I just got off, I just had a talk with my accountant a few hours ago, a few days ago, and she looked at my bank statements. She looked at my tax, my expenses, my income, and I'm gonna pay taxes. I'm gonna pay the government based on the profit I had, which is much less than what the average person pays. So you want to be a business owner. All right, just the tax on write-offs itself are beneficial. Imagine writing off your car note, writing off your taxes, writing off your insurance, writing off your phone bill. Um, Hold on, we got chats in here. There's even another credit bureau for business separate. Yes, and business credit is completely different. All right, but I do want to just say this, guys. Look, I talked about systems in the beginning. There's a lot of people that tell you that you can fix your credit on by yourself, and you can. Trust me, I've tried it, I've done it, I've gotten results. But credit is never ending. All right, and unless you want to, I'm an entrepreneur. You want to be you don't want to just call yourself an entrepreneur and not have an entrepreneur lifestyle. An entrepreneur lives on their own terms, meaning that for me, what entrepreneur means to me is that I have to have lifestyle. I don't want to exchange my time. I don't want to have a bunch of jobs. I want to have systems in place that are working for me so that I can focus on being what's the ultimate goal, which is an investor. I don't know if you guys heard this today, but Jay-Z just recently sold 50% of the shares of his Ace of Spades, his Ace of Spades to the guy that owns Louis Vuitton and all those other companies. So you might ask yourself, well, why would he do that? Well, because he doesn't want to be he doesn't want to be doing that work. He wants to pass it off, a major portion of the work, over to someone who is an expert in distributing the alcohol, distributing the drink, while he can take the advantage of just being an investor. And the ultimate goal is to become an investor. All right. And investors have even greater tax benefits than business owners. There's this thing called capital gains. We all know our previous president, Donald Trump. All right. A lot of people hate him because of how he created his wealth. But he did he's done with most wealthy families, the Bush family, the DuPont family, the Rockefellers, all these really wealthy families. What they've done was they have used other people's money. All right, and they've invested in real estate. They've invested into the business and the companies that we know, like Coca-Cola and all these companies that we use and spend our money with all the time. And then what they do is they make and invest. They make returns on their investments. They make returns on investments that they made with other people's money, right? Because they had credit. They had a good a history that people said, "Hey, we're willing to give you our money." And then what all they do is just pay back the people who trusted them with the money, and then they just pay a small 10 to 15, most of the times it's 15% on the profit that they made from money that they didn't, none of this money came from them. So you want to ultimately be an investor. All right. But you if you want to be a business owner, you can do that today. All right. I suggest that you can start an e-commerce business. You can start a network marketing business. You can start any type of business from your home, and you can start getting a 1099 income. If I'm not mistaken, you have to profit at least $600 a year in order to get the benefits of as a 1099 of a 1099. But get excited about being a business owner. All right, there's nothing sexy about being an employee. I'm not bashing having a job. I had several jobs. All right, but when I really got invested in myself and into education, and I started listening to the wealthy people and mentors, I started realizing that money wasn't what I was after. It was time. That's the biggest asset that you have. Time is the only thing that you can't replace. You can get money back, but you can't get time back. So what you want to do is you want to find ways to make money work for you so that you can have time doing what you're doing. Me and my kids are traveling. We're in a hotel right now playing Fortnite, just kicking it, chilling, while money's still coming in. I'm not breaking a sweat, and I don't want to sweat. I want to just chill. And I think that's what everybody wants. So you can't do this without money. And the best way to leverage yourself is with credit. If you can get your credit right, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. If you can get serious about your finances. So I hope this part isn't. I don't know if this part is recording or not, but I do have resources. Again, I talked about systems. I personally use a company. It's a financial education services company. All right, they manage my credit. I actually just had to get something taken off of my credit. They do handle all my dispute letters. They dispute everything for me. All I simply do is scan the documents and email. I do pay for the service. It's less than $100 a month, but I never have an issue with my credit. I'm always being advised if before I get loans and stuff like that. You get credit attorneys and a lot of different benefits. And if you want to build your credit, repair your credit, you want more information, I'd be more than happy to share those resources with you guys. And I'm just open the floor up for any questions. And if anybody has any questions, I know that was a lot of information. I laugh because I hate being on calls like this, me personally, because it's just so much information. It's like, but it is recorded, so you can go back. But more importantly, I'm in that Telegram group. If you need resources, if you need information, literally just hit me up. If I don't respond right away, I will get to you as soon as possible. But I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor for question and answers. And if anybody has any questions, I would love to be able to answer those questions. Can I unmute the lines? Let me see. How does that work?
I can.
Thank you, Mr. Quick. Like I said, every time I hear from you, there's always some new knowledge, and there's always been the blessing to be in your presence. I'm glad this conversation is actually recorded, because I took a lot of notes. I took a lot of screenshots also. So that's probably my camera was looking all flickery, but
Well,
yeah, I'm trying to soak up as much knowledge as possible. Me being my age and still being able to benefit from the conversation is priceless. So yeah, I hope everyone got able to get some of the knowledge that Mr. Quick presented to us. I think it was great. It's phenomenal, and I appreciate your time, sir. That was a great conversation.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. It's important. Credit is important, man. Don't let nobody tell you different, man. Nobody.
Thank you again as well. I did have a question that came up. Last time I was with the young people and the conversation came up about interest rates and what is the difference, what is a good interest rate, what is an interest rate one, and then how do like paying back a credit card make a difference between having a lower zero interest rate or like a 25 interest rate.
So that is a great question. So everybody first of all, interest rates, that's how the credit companies, that's how the lenders, that's how they make their money. All right. And they actually the rate, excuse me, the interest rate is a very they throw it in there, especially if you're not educated on credit. They throw it in there saying, hey, we're gonna give you this credit card for $1,000 or whatever, and with a 25% interest. And they don't tell you anything about it, and you just looking. But what that's telling you is that you're gonna pay 25% on that money. Like you're gonna, so that's very expensive money. Like just imagine that you borrowed $1,000 from me, and I told you, hey, I need that 1,000 back plus 25%. 25% of 1,000 is 250, right? Am I right? My math right? Yeah. So 1,250, right? 1,250, 25% interest. Well, if you guys don't know, what happens is that interest rate is compounding over every month. When you don't make the full payment, it's even worse. Right? If you're not paying the thing off, so the longer that you strung that payment out, the more interest that they're collecting on it. So you want to avoid high interest rates. Look at your money. And I didn't notice at first until I got my very first mentor. He started talking to me about. I started hearing him talk about expensive money. And I went with him one day. And like, listen, guys, get around wealthy people, people that have what you want. All right, so I'm about people that not flashy people. I'm talking about wealthy people that don't care about money, but they don't care about being flashy, but they have they have money, because just spend a day with them, and find out what value you can bring them. Like find out, hey, don't say, hey, can I take you to lunch, and ask you a bunch of questions. That's washed up and that's old. But see how you can bring value to them. Like if you know that they are whatever, find out what industry they're in. See what it is that you can bring to them that would cost that wouldn't be an annoyance to them. It wouldn't cost them a lot of time, because if a person is wealthy, they know that time is important. So for them to go to lunch with you costs them a lot of time. But if you can follow them during their day and just see how their day looks like it goes. But I remember one day he was going to bid on this like $5 or $6 million building. And after he left, he went and called the bank, and I'm just listening. I'm just watching, observing, which is one of the best things you could do is listen and observe. And when they offered him the money, one of the banks that offered him the loan, he turned it down, and I'm just like, what? Like, why did you do that? And he's like, the money was too expensive. And I said, I never even thought of that. So every loan is not a good loan. You want to avoid the high interest rates. And I told that story about the Acura. I actually what ended up happening was I went through two different banks. One was USAA and the other one was Ally, I think. I can't remember. And that was the first time that I sat down and actually got to look at a loan and look at APRs and interest rates and all that stuff. And one of them was offering me like 6%, and the other one offered me 3.99%, which I obviously took the 3.99%. But when I looked over the total balance of that loan over that 6 years, I paid a lot more for that car than it was worth. So that's where credit can get dangerous, and that's why it's important to pay your payments on time, because the longer you take to make that payment and to pay it off, the more money that you're spending, the more that money is costing you. I hope I answered that question right, or I made sense of it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Can I offer something else?
Absolutely.
All right, so we're talking about interest rates and car loans and things of that nature. I think while we're on the subject, good segue is principles. So whereas you are paying your car note, hypothetically, it's $250 a month, hypothetically. You pay your car note on time, you're three days ahead, as suggested. Then what you want to do is add whatever you can towards the principal separately. So so your car note is $250 for your car note. You can either write a separate check or a separate note to say $5, $10, $20 towards the principal. When you pay the principal, that specifically goes towards your credit. That goes towards that interest rates. That goes toward getting it down faster. If you pay on your principal during that first year, especially when they say if you're making your payments on time, if you pay on your principal also, and you refinance, you will get a better credit rating the next time also. So that's one thing you also, especially with car notes or anything with an interest rate, you want to make sure you pay the principal.
Absolutely, that's a great point. And again, like the better your credit, the lower your interest rates are going to be. Like before my grandmother passed away, her credit was perfect. She had like 800 up to 830. Her credit was perfect. She could go in the banks and get 0%, no interest. They would give her money, right? So if you pay your credit and you pay your bills and you do stuff on time, the banks will be more, because the interest rate is all about the risk that the bank is taking. They're like, well, if I'm going to give you this money, it's a high risk for me, so we're going to tax you. That's basically what they're doing. They're charging you for the risk that they're taking to give you the money. So that's why it's important that you pay your bills on time. Tariq, Kay, and Bria, y'all got some questions? Credit is a tough discussion. It really is. Like, and honestly, I think that's why they don't. Well, I ain't gonna say I think that's why, but it's probably a big reason why they don't talk about it in school. But the reality of it is, like, you cannot do the things that you want to do without it. Like, you want to own a home, you want to, like, I don't really talk to too many people already. This is actually being recorded. I don't really share this too much, but I'm looking to buy a condo by the end of this year. I'm not going to disclose the price, but this is probably going to be the biggest purchase. Well, this is the biggest purchase that I've ever, not buy it. I'm actually going to, I'm probably going to rent it, but I might buy it. I don't know. But what I would say is this: when I was looking over the terms and the down payment and the things like that, like, it started making me a little nervous to want to buy it, just because I don't want that much debt. So, but if you want to do something big, like own a home or start, get a major loan or whatever the case may be, you're gonna need credit. So don't let anybody make you think cash is king, cash is trash. All right, don't trust me on this. Like, I was that guy that thought cash was everything, but cash can only take you so far. All right, you want to do big things like own a home, unless you got like you got millions of dollars to just go buy it, then that's different. But credit is going to be the thing that you need. It's your foundation, all right, and that's your reputation. So it's important. And if you're young and you don't got no credit, you haven't done anything bad to your credit, you're in great condition, just be responsible. Make them payments on time. Make sure you be looking at your credit reports and credit scores, and make sure you hang around people that got good credit. I want everybody in my ecosystem to have good credit. Why? Because when we start investing in commercial real estate, and I need partners, I need people that can help me get some money, right? I don't want to be the only person that got good credit. I want to be able to call Trayvon up, call Eli up, call Danelle up. Like, hey, you think you can get a loan from the bank? Let's get some money. We invest in a real estate deal using someone else's money, get a return on our investment, pay the creditors off, take our profit, and keep doing the same thing over and over again. This is really how the wealthy get rich. So, credit is important. Any other questions? Well, I just want to applaud y'all for even getting on the call. You know me, I know when I was younger, um, I would definitely not be getting on a call at 6:50 after a long day, whether schoolwork or anything. I'm trying to chill. I just want to just let y'all know. Oh, you're welcome, brother. You're welcome, man. I just want to let y'all know that, regardless, look, being from Baltimore, we're not supposed to get this kind of information. They don't want us to have this information. They don't want us to educate ourselves, because we are the most dangerous people on the planet, right? And if we apply ourselves and we stick together, we work together, we got our economics right, like what would this world be like? And if you take a look at the different cultures, different races, they come to Chinese, they come to our city, right? What do? They get loans from the bank. They build hair salons. They build hair stores. They build their little stores all on credit, and we come and give them all their cash. We build their credit. We build we build their economic stability here in this country, and we got to do the same thing for ourselves. And again, it all starts with credit. So I hope you guys got a lot of value. I want to send y'all nothing but peace, love, and prosperity. And anytime I can be of service to this group, I want to be. So thanks, Dana, for asking. And I'm gonna pass the call back over to you.
Thank you so much, young brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I'm done. I think you did, a phenomenal job. I have so many notes myself. Um, I've gone through a lot of those situations about to hit 40 and never had those conversations and been told those things. And so I was the first person in my generation. My mother never owned a home. My father was in the streets, never owned a home. None of my aunts and uncles, you know, I was the first one. And so from my people, and I took a lot of those lessons on the chin in my late 20s and early 30s. And I wish I had a program or a resource. And that's why I'm offering this to young people, that before you're even 18, Tariq, you can start to understand these things better. And even though you may be in your 20s, Bria, that you can start to do better than what I did. So by the time you get my age, you can be that one with that $750, $800 score and getting whatever it is that you want. Yes, she does. That was Uncle Rob's house that he got with his GI Bill. So I was the first. We'll talk offline, Elisha, because I'm not talking. I was saying my mother, my grandma Pat, Aunt Eunice, Uncle Lewis. We can talk offline. But all right, yo. Thank you so much. Oh, it was a direct message. So he's correcting me in the fact that I said that I was the first one in line. And the people that I'm referring to and the people who I was raised with, I was the first one to do it. And I didn't have people to call at that time to lead me in the right direction. And I found myself in a tight spot at that time. If I knew better, I would have done better. And some of that also has to do with young people. Know where your help could come from, and don't be prideful to reach out to other people, because there were some other uncles and aunties and them that I could have called from the other side of the family that I didn't feel I was good enough to reach out to. And so you are good enough to reach out. You are good enough to say to those family members who you might not see all the time, to ask, because, at that time of my life, I didn't feel comfortable because I felt like I came from the black sheep. And so you know what I mean? Like there were some other things going on. So our money and our spirituality and our physical, what we do, our mental health can all be entwined too. And so get yourself holistically together. And money does, and your finances, your how you're economically empowered, does tie into that as well. So I'm glad that I am now in a better place. But like I said, at 27, trying to buy that first house, I was not in the right space. I shouldn't have did it. So think about your finances, think about your whole think about your whole situation before purchasing a house, and save enough money, house or a car. So that's just my point of view. Any big credit decisions, including student loans, really think through them and really get the right counseling, to be where you need to be. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Quick. I appreciate you so much for coming on. Thank you, Elisha. Thank you, Trayvon. Thank you, young people, for hopping on. And we are out for today. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.